بالشيش وشين خاستيل تكتيوهان شخوايا أختواسكو يقووسي داسا يخايا
Yanaka?
داسا يخايا
To do a sock miso soup. Soup.
Miso tahini.
Yeah.
Tish kachwe.
Oh, Tastas yikha gekoa.
Heen, Auckland heen.
The cut yagyee dasa yikha.
Het Ghana yagyee ʼat.
Birthday Shnuxi at ET. Chwacha.
Yagyee uti tatke.
Sunday.
Oh, Sunday. Sigu inyet pati. Yagyee with talk. Cut Johan, dasatsu, dasa yikha yagyee.
Reese's peanut butter cup.
Okay.
Hot ka taige kashisuku yade.
Yeah.
Tin. Fastakhan.
Oh. We just the cut that ha. I take kashitsuku. That's to you, huh?
Just gach at high tin. Yeah, just yeah.
Okay.
What
Oh, that it's it hard way Gishunasi Kalshukaik Sapning. They hooch with a kachi for ya at Nasi Daki Hiti de Pagud with a kachi ya yetki hasu kayak. Hetpa way now constitute ya Nasadu Sago our duck washki way a kachi with a we do ʼatudli.átk X'éig saknin ka Gishunasi. We sitcom son burrito kwaha reason ayakwa u. Okay. Burrito plain. Burrito nui loa. Kach atlen kach letsu kain. But gay we anges take our ange. We asadu sa Wooch who cut the high at yeeyx ʼatudli.átk mango. Take our ange ʼatudli.átk mango. Wooch who smoothie you do a song good. Okay.
Yes.
This part was a tea. Awasa with the tea. Just at khotana. Idat shantu kick for me. Just your tie at Kayaaní.
What's the do a sock, Lingi Kayaaní, avocado?
Just a side question. Provide your awkshitán, butter avocado.
Ah,
Yagyee cookie. Awkshitán we has avocado. Has to ʼatudli ani aya a Kayaaní tour. Yeah, the cut that they has to ani coffee, avocado, mango, papaya. Awkshitán we has avocado. Yeeyx. Oh, wait, yagyee on hundaki hiti yeeyx. Just ʼatudli. Wait, awkshitán. Butter avocado. Okay.
Isikuge lilikoi, Hawaii,
Lily koi. Aye.
isk.
Oh, new hot. Yucatangi we avocado. Chukat ko yucatangi. Isikuge guksa.
No.
Russia. Aztec. Yehasiti kwashkiwe. Has to yucatangi dach. Dasatsu. Aha. Hot. Social. Hay kwasaku has to yucatangi for.
Ahwakat. Okay, wait. Yeeyx, let's see. Gusu, wait, ʼat. Oops, she ran away. Yeeyx, let's see.
Yusuwa,
Hesh ihidi.
Shinget yukatange.
ʼAwkshitán.
Pronounced, how would you pronounce it in with Shinget
Suye. Say it again.
Nahuatl?
Nahuatl.
The novel.
Oh,
How would you pronounce the Nahuatl for avocado, for the word from which our word avocado was derived in Nahuatl? How would you pronounce that with a Shinget accent?
well, I need to hear that word in their language first. It is avocado. Because they could do a TL, I think, right?
But is it the same as the Shinget TL?
No, I don't think so. I remember.
The problem.
Okay, there was a soup there. We went there. I spoke Shinget with this Mayan guy. It was really cool because he spoke Mayan. He was hilarious. It's a tour of this pyramid. And he was making fun of the movie that Mel Gibson made. And he was making fun of the movie where the Mayan calendar ends and the world falls apart. He was like, it's like a speedometer in your car. If it's all nines, it goes back to zeros and just goes again. It's like they could have just asked us instead of making this big scary movie about it. So yeah, that's how they roll. And then they said people say we all disappeared, but we didn't disappear. Then he showed us a picture of the statue, and it was a picture like this, and he said, look, I got the same nose, and his nose was exactly the same as the guy in the statue. And then he spoke like probably 6 different languages, and one of them was a variation of a Mayan language. And then he told us about xochitl, which I think was XOCHTL or something like that. So xochitl, so it might be a chol type of sound. I have to hear somebody say it. But then he said there's this little bubble gum called chiclets. They're real yummy, but they only last about like 30 seconds and they got no flavor. That comes from a Mayan word as well, because bubblegum was, they're the ones who came up with bubblegum,
Hmm.
like little teeth or something like
It
that.
was from the
Hmm.
rubber.
Yeah. Yeah, well, okay, Dukt'ootlʼ. Dukt'ootlʼ. Dukt'ootlʼ yanaqijin. Dukt'ootlʼ yanaqij.
Hmm.
Yagyee.
You say what?
Oh,
Okay. Vancouver, yeeyx.
Ah.
Achaway, tatga. Lebanese ʼatudli ʼátk.
wow, X'éig.
Ega, Wooch. Mhm.
Okay. Dukt'ootlʼ. Dukt'ootlʼ. Yagyee.
Tacos chacha wasted gausan at a cray.
Okay. Yagyee. Taco Dukt'ootlʼ.
Glíchúg ach tuasagúg ega
Okay.
kaba in bata tsu.
Oh, okay.
In bata. Bata?
Kachak tai.
Chak tai. Akatseo hak chak tai. Yitina khateti.
Kayaaní. Yagyee. Llingit kadekina shatahani. Du'ísh. Chunach yagyee guakan hug. Awkshitán. Ach tuasagú gweil klein.
Ach tuasagú zisgú glíchúg.
Chatsu. Ag di hin atlein a dewa tu a cloch. Kayaaní. Kayaaní. Chatla tu. Llingit. Okay, hawotien. Yan shuka. Ziskaya. Has our llun. Aka awe ziskutaye. We gun kaye woti. Itu I guess ago would do a tiki. Ziskutaye. Khatla chatak. Kanach ewe. Which again? Cheese. It's felt like being nosy today. But also we all eat, so it gives us something to talk about. Let's see. Class today. Class on Monday. Oh, your hand is up.
Yeah. I was like, do I put it up in class or? But yeah, I had a question about consecutive verbs. Because it's not in the conjugation.
Yes, so there's a few things that aren't in there.
Yeah.
And so it's 600 pages, so I didn't want to make it 1,000 because once you get it, most of the ones that aren't in there also require the conjugation prefix to be in there, which means there has to be separate. There
Yeah.
has to be 8 tables for or however many classifiers there are. And so, yeah, is that the one with ni?
Yeah, that's the once or when verb, and I need that one, but I don't know how to like manipulate it, I guess. Because it's my phrase is once I make my move. And rather than doing Kayaaní or like
Yeah.
that has the once in the verb, right? Or once or when.
Well, your shortcut is I make my move. You could do that. You could also say, you could also put, is it sa or tse in front of the verb to say this one first. But you to say like to get into the consecutive, I'm gonna have to, I think we gotta go.
So you said aga awetsa,
Mhm.
so high tone on the A.
Yeah, and that's, and only then.
Okay.
So that is a short way to do it. There are things like you will see, the other way to do it, let's go. You can do it with a post verb as well. So when you're using one of these, like we haven't even, there's so much to X'éig. I just need like a 10-year class or something. I don't know. We all just gotta go live on an island. Just be like, we'll be back when we can like really speak this language, and we need to take a few like high fluency speakers with us.
I thought advanced Tlingit was a 10-year class.
Well, now we're starting a 4th-year class. Next year, there's a 4th-year Tlingit class.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah.
Hado.
Onto it?
Yep.
Cool.
Anybody who has done advanced can, well, anybody can try it. But we're gonna, fall semester is, I think it's called Tlingit Culture and Perspectives or something like that. And then the spring is Tlingit Oral Literature. So now those will be 4th-year classes, which are designed to sort of be language use classes.
As in entirely in Tlingit.
That's the goal. Is if it's an hour and a half, we want to go an hour and 15 minutes in Tlingit. And then just do a little mini lesson at the end, little Q&A type of thing.
Would those fulfill humanities requirements?
You should, yeah.
Okay.
We're in human.
Because I took Tlingit oral literature and just fell through, but,
Oh, we can help with that.
okay, cool.
Okay, so let's see. So you do have consecutive right here. So this is the verbal structure handbook. So we see it does need the conjugation prefix. It's a -I classifier. And I think,
Stop showing this.
oh, I know what this one is. But I don't know the stem variation of it. So it's high, and so you'd say,
It's always high and long, is what I've heard.
yes,
Yeah,
I think that's right.
yeah.
So you'd say, for example, so yan uane, that's a 0 classifier. So it's a really, I think it's a yan khane, and then you just go when after I'm ready, this other thing.
Yeah.
But then if you had one that's like, you'd say nachata after I sleep. But then it's, I don't know, I've never really studied it. It's a very
Yeah.
thing. But you'll see it in the stories. Like, so I think we've seen a couple in Dukt'ootlʼ. There's actually a couple in Tonka when we did a deep dive into Robert Zuboff's Tonka. And if you look at Tonka, there's a few of them that pop up there. And then you'd say like after he put him in the bag or something like that. Cheat Wu was talking to me about these sometime in this last year. And I started noticing them in stories, you know, and so you'd say like after they did this thing, they did that. But I think when you get into this contingent, that's another thing. Because the difference, I think, between conditional and contingent and consecutive are a little bit fuzzy. Conditional seems like it's every time this thing, this other thing.
Mhm.
So it's like whenever I wake up, I make coffee. So you could have something like that.
Like always,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like cause and effect, very, very tied to one another. Or every time I tell them this, they get mad at me or whatever. Contingent is like, it requires this other thing to happen. So like, because this thing happened, this other thing was able to happen, kind of. And then consecutive is one after the other. So this is the way that you put them together. I just don't know how I've asked him about how he marks stem variation. It didn't make sense to me because I don't understand. But another way that you could do it is with a post verb. So when we scroll down past all the prefixes, we get to the post verbs. Scrolling. So these ones. So nooch or niche is the one that I think we're probably all most familiar with, or most familiar with, but you could say noogene and you could say neegene. So used to always. And then you could say nuke, which is the consecutive.
Mm.
So you can use it there. And then you could say nukni, and you could say qanukin. Qanukin is the one where I started noticing this one, which was like only after they sat in the bow were they able to shoot the seal.
Only after they sat in the.
So if this one, the first one verb requires the other one.
Mhm. So it would be kind of like the same concept of how it's written as a subordinate clause. Like it'd have to be connected, or they would just be one verb, two verb.
I think one verb, two verb,
Wow.
because the subordinate is like as always like that or when.
Yeah, and then you.
It's verb, that or when, this other one.
Yeah.
So for example, I could say Chashtakatqa e Khashatu Shingit Qanukin. I guess let's say Chashtakatqa Shingit Hastu e Khashatu Qanukin Cake Kwashi Cake Kwatashi. Only after I have taught all of the people Shingit will I quit working.
Wow.
I think it can work like that.
So it just like auto, it just like connects right up until the preverb of the next one.
It just go, yeah, the next one just sort of comes. But then it kind of depends on whether you're saying this thing had to happen before this other thing happened. So the second verb conjugates according to what you're saying. Like, so only once this thing happens, this thing will happen.
Mhm.
Or you could say once this thing happened, this, and so you don't need to deal with the time of the one that's in the contingent mode.
Okay.
The contingent consecutive would be more like after I washed the dishes, I made coffee. And so they're
Just like a following, like.
they're just sort of linked together by time.
Thank you. That's excellent.
For the, so it's a part of my final, I've been like really like scrounging around to try to find like, once I make my move. And the context is he's making the move playing chess, right? Like, once I make this move, like, the queen will take me, right? But that's a different sentence. So this one's is like, once I make this move. And so I'm wondering, could you show me an example of how to use the contingent? Because I've never used the contingent before either.
Yeah, I think we can, let's see.
I was thinking, do I have to change around the wording to more fit the Lingi?
Probably.
Let's see. Let's go find. Okay, I know. I think it's in here. Oops. So here's an example from Robert Zuboff. Zoom in here. So he says, Gao ke has akqatan qadnukan away qanate kandahai aya ate has akunaqich. So here the second verb, well, you yeeyx it. It's Robert Zuboff going PhD mode on us here. So Gao K, so we have K has akqatan. So this is in a future mode. Anúgún. So this is saying like, once they have picked up the drum, Qanate Kandahai, so that's our opposites. That's in this case, the Kandahai is saying like a relative. Because you could say Wasa Wooch Hakautaha, how are we related? Ade has a kunakage. And so this is towards it, they always command them to go over there. This is to send someone on an errand or a mission. Yeeyx Dukt'ootlʼ. And now we end it with a purposive. So this is a big
Wow.
sentence. But this is basically saying only after they have picked up the drum, because it's in the future,
Mhm.
right? So that means it hasn't, but this is really setting up a whole bunch of like conditional sort of elements, saying once they have done that, then they'll send them on this mission so that this thing can happen.
Wow, so it could go future command form and then end with the, what did you say the last one was?
It's purposive. So it's just like a hortative. You can find this one in the conjugator under hortative. And it's so it can happen. And it's a really great one to use like in stories and conversations. So you could say, I put my shoes on so we can go. So once you know how to do a hortative, you can always get that so it can happen type of.
The purposive is the so it can happen.
Yep. And then I know there's another one. Okay. This is under the folder old texts for retype. Which one is it? I know it's in here. We haven't, I do think this thing could use a retype. I don't know how I'm gonna find it. Oh, now I know how I'm gonna find it. I'm just gonna find it, okay. So we do have it here, but now we gotta do a bit of work. Dukt'ootlʼ anúgún ʼatudli. It's a lot.
It's so interesting that the anúgún stands on its own.
Yeah, it is a post. This is probably the most common way I've ever seen these types of modes be used.
Yeah, and it's a post verb or
Yes.
post verb.
It's like nooch or niche. And so here we have Dukt'ootlʼ. I guess that's after they have completely been taught or studied, after they have completely studied it. So they're looking at these, I think seals is what's going on here. Shaka Anukch, they always sit at the head of the canoe. A'atudli, the shooter. So here it does look like the second verb again is in a habitual.
Okay. So it's like, that's maybe the pattern of it then?
It could be. Let's look at another one. A'awkshitán, anúgún, yukuhida akqa'uni, yeeyx contingent. You got another one there. That's another habitual. A'awkshitán, which is low tone, which is interesting. They are going to shoot at something after, and so here we get this one again.
Like once.
Anúgún, yeah. So only after they have shot at something. Yukuhida akqa'uni. I think that's what they're using in this. I forget. For bullet, maybe? I can't remember. Because there we have that when they will shoot it. They're gonna rock the boat. They always rock the boat. This is like this little trinkets. We gotta do more with these. They're so rad, and it's also hard.
Yeah, I don't even know how to go about forming a sentence with anúgún and
Mhm. I think I can find another example. We do have some work to like, so here we have in the verb dictionary, I think they only mention them. I don't know if they necessarily, so they say here, nooch, nookch, noogeen, nook, nookni, and anúgún. But I don't think they give specific examples of them. Here might have something. Yeah, he just, it just says, it says that it exists.
Hmm.
So I think the Raven story and the little storybook gives us the strongest examples. We could dig like, okay, let's see. Let me see if I can do it. So there is this $400 book that we have scanned, thankfully. And that I think, I hope it gets retyped because it will be easier to look through, I think. So we have ʼatudli, but no anúgún. And so it gets confusing because ʼatudli is a habitual verb to always sit. So it's a different thing. Like when I first saw ʼatudli, I was like, is that they used to sit or they would, but then it was like just its own word. Okay. Other questions?
Well, that book you just were in that, you looked at Ganúgún and it looked like it was Tlingit verb dictionary. So I was thinking, is that the Naish story verb dictionary? And what
This-
page is it on?
385,
3.
where they're also talking about nuclear words. Kaboom.
3.
This section is
Nuclear. Oh, there we go. So it is Naish story, page 385.
Sorry,
Okay.
this is the end appendix, which is worth, like, this stuff is totally worth reading.
I
We
think it's
we have different ways of talking about these things now, but like this is everything that clued us into how to talk about these things.
I think it's just useful. Sometimes you find stuff in a book, and then it's like, oh, which book is it? Oh, it's the yellow book. It's actually on a physical page. So, goodness, geez.
Let's see. Oh, here's a little cute sneak preview. This little book cover coming.
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to have these as a three volume set. I also think over the summer there's going to be some options, and I'll just sort of build an email list and just say, advanced students, we're going to pilot some teaching materials on how to do a bunch of this stuff. And so, because we're out there at the cusp of what has been made, I think. So I don't think people have made teaching materials for anúgún. There's just no anúgún textbook. So we'll just, someone showed me like you can make these little tiny poetry books, like out of one piece of paper or something, maybe two, they fold it in all these different cool ways. I'll make a little anúgún book. And so, but I think we need to sort of figure out some methods that are going to help people with stuff, and also use the conjugator and the verb components board game sort of thing. So yeah, those are, keep an eye out. We're probably gonna do 1 or 2 every month, just so we can sort of keep the gang together. And it's totally optional. It's totally just there. But we're gonna try and figure out like how to bring the pieces together a little bit more on how to teach all of this stuff. So.
Sorry. So Dukt'ootlʼ sounds like she's going to be presenting something in her final that's got some very interesting constructions. And are we going to be able to learn from that? Or is she just showing off how great she is, which that's okay.
Well,
But,
I think we can always learn from each other as we do things together.
But the thing is, if she just presents it and we just kind of go, wow, that's cool. Are we good? And I don't want to put the pressure on you, Dukt'ootlʼ, but it would be nice if we could see that written document and be able to have some time to.
You want the transcript?
Well, I'm just thinking it would be nice to, if it's really cool, which I bet it will be, to then have some time to digest it and look at it again. And if class is over, how is that going to happen? Just a consideration. It would be nice to have that.
Email.
Well, I mean, as a class, I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Yeah. my sister is gonna illustrate it and we're gonna call it, Wooch yeeyx. So then we don't get charged.
Mhm.
It's gonna be called The Boy Who Survived.
what?
The Boy Who Survived,
Oh,
right? It's a Wooch.
Hmm.
Wooch yeeyx.
okay.
Yeah, I thought that would be like, I don't know, we can maybe Wooch ka.
It does work, but there's also qasaneer. It's one that I don't know why. But
Yeah.
they'd say like, qasaneer ish, my surviving father.
Gasanech. Would you be able to say Gasanech yeeyx?
Makes sense. The boy,
Gasanech.
qasaneer.
Gasanech yeeyx.
So,
Yeah, so then I don't get charged. But my sister's is really good at drawing, so she's gonna illustrate it and then I'll probably send it to Kune to post on his website, but feel free to look at all the stuff too.
yeah, so you have 1 week to, so like, we have class tonight, Monday's a teaching class. And then we also have, then we get together for Wednesday for a non-recorded class where we share our work. But we can also like certainly either share publicly, if you don't mind, where I'll just post this stuff on thinkoflanguage.com. Or if you want to share privately, I could just drop it into a shared folder, which is our advanced Tlingit folder. Yeah, okay.
Also, I found a really cool verb for the noun to, or the verb to frequently do something. So I was like finding names for like Hermione, Ron, and Harry, and it's awkshitán.
Oh, yeah.
That cool?
The habit of,
Always reading or in the books, right? Frequently used books. Something like
Yeah.
that, I thought.
so like in the habit, so it's a really,
And then you just put the noun of whatever is their habit before, right? So it could be like Athun awkshitán. In the habit of hunting.
yeah, let's
Okay,
look
maybe I
at,
don't have it grasped.
well, here's Dukt'ootlʼ awkshitán. He's in the habit of going to different towns.
Mm.
Let's see now. Dukt'ootl'átk shukashir awkshitán akak kawus. Anybody know what song kawus composed? It's a pretty famous one.
Heyday?
No, older.
Older.
So he was from a speech in 1981, probably composed in the early 80s.
Older.
1980s. Ya kana goodly huwa Kayaaní huwa. So there's one, a couple, but then we should look in the verb dictionary to also see. Because yeah, I think it's a great verb.
Yeah, it was my first time I was trying to figure out how to use it, but what I thought is just putting the noun before.
It might work.
Yeah.
Okay. If I was a verb dictionary, okay.
And then Ron, of course, I called the red-headed person. I thought it'd be rude to be like the hand-me-down clothes.
Oh, right.
So the red-headed person.
So yeah, ʼatudli, awkshitán. We like to go hunting. Eat awkshitán. So yes, those are nouns,
Okay.
but they're from verbs.
Like-
So I don't know if you could say like kuhida awkshitán. But that might work, like I'm in the habit of using a pencil, but I don't know.
Mm.
So I think you can get like a verbal noun of word. Like there's this set that's kind of like, it's interesting because like ʼatudli, eat, yagyee, ʼat'éig, they are nouns. They all come from verbs. And I could use motion verbs without any direction.
Mm.
So I could say, yeeyx kwakut. I'm gonna go to work. I could say, ʼatudli.átk. Let's go dancing. And so ashka is another one that comes from. So I don't know if it's just limited to those. And with this one, awkshitán. Yeah. I don't know if it always has to be verbal nouns, but I think it does.
Okay.
Awkshitán, they're in the head.
Verbal noun.
They like to, but it's also something that you enjoy doing. It's not like there's not some negative connotation in here, like you're a gambling addict or something.
Is there a positive connotation?
Well, yeah, I think so. Because look at the examples here. Nothing wrong with going berry picking or hunting. I don't think those are things where people are like, they're just berry picking too much, you know, but I mean, maybe. There's one other spot I always wonder about Lyman too. There's such good stuff in here, but I don't remember seeing this verb in there. Okay.
They use that word "ganukt" in Kayaaní when they say elders always went outside to sit in the evening.
Oh, right. After eating or something, right?
To study the stars. On
Yeah. Let's go find it. Is it on this page?
Gank away ganukt katashatanen.
Katushatanen.
They're referring to Kayaaní. They don't use his name here, but in the interpretation, it's implied that it was him.
Khana de awa, khana de ya cook kahenen awa, gank away kanukch. So it's getting to be evening. It's getting to be evening. Cook kahenen. Cook kwaha is what you'd have, like the future of that, or khanat huwaha, the evening. It's come to be evening. So yakuk kahenen is it. It's a future decisive. It was going to become evening.
Would be something in English like it was getting on toward evening?
Yeah, well, like a future decisive could be I was gonna wash the dishes, but I didn't go home. So it was going to happen, but it didn't happen. So you can use a future decisive that way. My sentence for testing it out was yagyee which maybe we can have a little fun exercise and look at what did I just say? Hold on a second. Okay. So I said, oh, I think I said yeeyx. Oops. I don't need I always have to do spell check in English. Probably should do it in yeeyx it kaki oots and you cut to the shut it was you What's yeeyx?
I used to think
I used to think it ʼatudli.átk. What's ʼatudli.átk?
he will wash.
You will wash.
He will wash.
And then what's it?
At something about following.
That would be without the da on there. Yes. It is a thing. It knows.
Your body.
Mm-hmm. What are you cut to the shut? What's what?
Is that like ku'a?
Contract.
Whatever. However, maybe. Chayuk.
Suddenly.
Cut to the shut.
Someone grabbed me.
It's what it's kind of. What is that? Cut to the shut. Good one to know. I realized.
My mind was taken hold of.
Yep, it's like something grabbed me. It's like you have an idea. Suddenly have a thought, right? And you could use, there's a version of this to change someone's mind as well. Ituasakushi sneaky. It's not a very nice sentence, but I think it's funny.
She sneak. She sneaks.
You want to smell yourself? Is that?
You waited a whole semester for this.
This.
But this
But
is serious about this future possessive, and I don't know. We were also, it was a safe space for teasing each other. And so that was my sentence I formulated. But yeah, so coming back to yeah, so we've got it here, right? It was going to become evening. That person always sat outside. Katushatanan, we used to be in the habit. Yende Daqaudi. What is that? Daqaudi yagyee. Oh, Yandeu Daqawati. It's complicated. I think we're looking at a potential. Because we have an aerialis. But no, I can't because it's duck. No, I don't. Oh, this is, oh, I know what we're looking at. Sorry. Perfective, daqa, distributive, what, growing, the ones who have become elderly. Yakantpin would sit outside. That's a plural. A'anitu saknuch. We always call it a'an, the meditation, the studying of the stars. Tlakudzi. There's so much stuff to get out of these old stories, just like this one. I get rid of this color. Wrestle with me. What a fun one. Can I get someone to read this one? Sheesh. Okay. What do we got here? If we really listen to the tape right here, we might catch something like this. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a witla a day yeeyx.
Is this the talking, the said verb? I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are, this right here is, they are saying it to them.
Okay, they're saying it to them, and then yach, it's like, so
It
like,
is like, but I fully would expect a yeeyx right there.
and it would change the context of
Well,
it.
because you have a day. So if you say, for example, if you say, put it down here, a day, daya, ha. Yeah.
The
Okay,
way he said it.
the way they said it to them. Yes. So then, away, clay, a day, daya, ha, yeeyx away. So yeeyx, we usually write it as, I think as one word. And it means like the way that verb happened. So you can stack those. So then it was like the way he said it. We're probably gonna get some sort of description of it after this.
So when you combine it, yeeyx into one word, is it ayach?
Well, no, it's just like, it's because we have a yach, which we don't put that long of a pause, and then we have a yach, and these are two different things. What is a yach?
It's ownership like.
Like it. And what's a yach?
It is, I thought,
Like. Go ahead.
A yach is correct.
the yachaway is, that's correct.
Yes. And a yach away is, it's like that. A yach akwe, a yach away. Yes, that's correct. But, those are things that are, they're kind of similar. I don't know. Someone was trying to give me the business one time because the way I was talking about these two things, right? Like what I was saying is that is how it is. And then this one is, that is correct. And yeah, I don't know how I feel, but they're just trying to sort of publicly call me out for sort of publishing something like this in a teaching materials. I do believe that's how it works though, because when you say yeeyx, you're saying that is how it is. And the way I like to sort of think about these, if I say yeeyx, that's different than ayach aweh. Because how would this one translate?
Ooh, so I know it, that is how I know it.
And how would the second one translate?
That is the right way, or that is the right way that I know it. Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know the correct way, right? And so, but someone like was really upset. And I said, well, these are not like completely different concepts, right? And so I think we don't need to get so upset. That's-
because it's a part of our oratory to say yay away, but we don't say away.
You could, if someone is making a point and you did want to say that
Like,
is correct.
like, be like, that's
Right.
spot on, yeah.
If someone stood up in Tlingit and said, we shouldn't get so mad at people about these two little terms, I'd say. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Can you explain like about this yach portion of it that it is like, because I experimented a lot with using the yach in making it so, because like, for example, the Tlingit yoga that I was doing, to be like more respectful of the animal rather than imitating it, using the nai tit verb, I would like, for example, like
Yeah,
squat like a frog. So that
Makes a lot of
works.
sense. Yeah,
Okay, so rather than being like imitate a frog.
yeah, because I'd probably like start acting like a frog. and
Yeah.
Or doing something.
Yeah, and like, and in our mindset, that's something like a lot of elders are like, no, but maybe you want to be like, you could do something like the animal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's more respectful.
Because you could say, would say, "Yagyee nitakin, at nitakin," and then they would. just like-
Yeah, like,
Right, and
like-
so, but especially like with one particular motion, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and so again, coming back to this yay and yeeyx, which sort of got us onto this. You had better be right. Okay, well, we kind of, yes, I guess. I think this was asked somewhere on the Discord, maybe. And oh, this was yesterday. So somewhere, someone had asked about should. And let me try it. Okay, now it's working. So before we talk about should and you better, my therapist told me to be careful with using the word should because we're judging people. That being said, here's how this is a great particle. Ke. So ke can kind of soften a command, right? So you could say, if only you gave me some money, right? Or whatever the thing you want to say, right? And then you have a command form, and then you have ke verb ush. It's as if this verb. So I do think a good place to find examples of how to use this. I like to go into Nyman, and I think I look up the word should. And then we just sort of, we got to get through all the English stuff. And then we get, here's an example, the taku should belong to me. And we are in the process of retyping this so that we can get the Tlingit and the Tlingit and the English need to be right next to each other for us to really work with them. Because then you got to go, okay, let me find 15, 16, 17, 18, scroll back. And then so here we're getting a hortative, right? Let it belong to me. So technically, let it be mine. Let the taku be mine. And then that's just in the notes. And then after that, we decided we should go back. So this is 256. We'll just go see. Tle we to hasat kawana. So I don't think you really get that thing in there, you know. So I should explain. So this is 350. We atukowitsa just way. There's some good examples of ke in here. I don't know how I'm gonna find. Maybe I gotta go. Here's one. Kayaaní anúgún. So this is line 53. Oh, where do I find? Not too far. Let me find out about this. Then we get yeeyx. So this is a command. 104. Look at the side of the glacier. To say ʼatudli.átk. 241. It was because my father's brother who gave you the name. So I guess you had better be right. I don't, that's a very
Sort
judgment.
of implied threat in
Yeah,
it. I don't know if there's a verb form that really conveys that.
and
In
it's,
English, it's the better.
yeah, it might come off as, if I were to say this in a conversation, I would end up with probably something like this. I hope you do it correctly. So I think you end up like wishing, it's a pretty strong wish right here. Yagyee. I hope you'll do it correct. And then you can also do, you can end up with yagyee. Yay. Oh, what am I gonna say? Yeeyx. So I do think it would more likely lean towards like wishing or hoping. You could do something like some sort of like conditional, like if you do it wrong. Then you can talk about what kind of bad things might happen. Yeeyx. Oops.
Renee, I was just looking up that one, like, that, and it, because and it says be sure to, like, softens a command as well, but, may you or be sure to is kind of what it says when I look that up, but it's saying be sure to, but in a good way,
Mhm.
like not a bossy way type of thing.
Right. Where were you finding that one?
Your dictionary.
Okay,
Did you add Quan to the statement?
Oh, well, yeah, so that, okay, let's see. I think there's, so here's one, 1236. Be sure then to control your speech. This might give us a good example of that. So we come up here and we get ʼatudli.átk. So what we have here is one before a command. So this is a command, yeeyx, which is a very cool verb. So yeeyx, which we'll go into the verb dictionary to find out. So we're going to go to ʼéig, which we probably know. So here's ʼéig for something to be difficult, or to be hard, for something to harden. Hold it steady. Keep a song steady. This yeeyx is really interesting. That means like you're going to hold something and you're going to be rigid so that it doesn't spill. And so here you've got yeeyx to defend yourself, yeeyx to question and interrogate someone. And so, but you don't really get the, I don't think we find, but you might say this is getting pretty close, but I don't. So I had to come back in and see. So going back, we see yeeyx, which does tell me, I do think this is a first person command. So you probably do have ya with a probably a D plus a DSH classifier and which is like be steady, hold your words steady. And if we want to go sort of see if there's more, we can go into here. Sort of see. Hold it steady. Okay, awkshitán. But I don't, so I don't know. I think this is a little different though. One. So it doesn't say ʼatudli in front of it. Yagyee. So that means that there's another verb here, which is it's a zero conjugation. We could tell by the command form because there's no conjugation prefix there. And it's also a short high stem. And so that means there's an undocumented verb here, which is great. That means to be steady with your words, right? Which if we look through this whole thing, we probably see that there's talking about just being careful how you talk, you know, the way your words type of thing, which another place we can go is into, let's see. So I do have a document that's ʼatudli.átk that is just the speeches. And so you can find that in the curriculum folder under texts and Dauenhower, and it's HTY_speeches only, which helps because sometimes when you're looking for a word, you end up, there's wonderful, very long introductions to hashukah and ʼatudli.átk. But sometimes if you're just doing language stuff, you don't need to scroll through 100 instances of, you know, spirit or whatever they're talking about. So when I do a search, I can put quotation marks and I could say, be sure. And it should look for those two words, but you don't see it. I'm sure, surely. I thought this had some of those too, but maybe not. Maybe hashukah does. Okay. Okay. I hope we answered your question, maybe.
Ayak. Away.
Finished.
Jeez.
Tuwasa awus.
Okay. ʼatudli.átk.
Awusne.
We got there.
Not again how it was done.
How do you think this works? What is it? How would you translate that in English? Before we look at what the Dauenhowers gave us. Look.
Oh.
Okay. So there's like some cultural context to this one, which is why, like, so if we go this way, just this little phrase. Like a lot of us know this phrase, kleshwasa, kleshmasa, right? And so like when we translate this, and sometimes we just say, okay, right? But it also means not damage, not hurt. And it also means like it has been repaired. Like it has so much meaning, and the meaning is determined by context. So you could say klesh wa sa wune. And now, because we know usually like klesh wa sa uti, which is it is okay, right? It's not harmful. It's safe. Klesh wa sa uti, which on its own it's a powerful phrase. Like in old school Tlingit, like if there was some big offense that happened, if someone said this who was the one who was offended, then it's been squashed. It's been taken care of. But then we could say wune, keshwasa wune would be nothing bad happened. And we could say keshwasa. We could say kesh su wasa wune. And that would be, again, nothing bad happened, right? So it kind of, this, and then we can sort of, once we have wune, then this gets into a deeper thing, right? So you could say ye wune, it happened. And then you could say yeeyx, they did it, or they fixed it. But what happens when I do something like this? Yagyee.
You fixed me?
It could be that, but it would usually be you did it to me, right? And then, but we need context on what that is, because this is such a generic doing verb. Yagyee. So then we need to know, you need to know, am I okay? Am I happy? Am I mad? Because whatever that state of being is, you're the one kind of responsible for it, is what's being said. So in this case, kesh su wasa awusne. He didn't do anything harmful to him. And the tsu part is really interesting because the again is in there, which is really interesting. Because leading up to all of this, and what this, and but the context, right? So this little person appears, he says, I'm a blessing to you, I'm strength, I'm called strength. Then he says, wrestle with me. And that's the way he said it, is wrestle with me. When we get to this part, keshtsu wasa awusne. What this is saying is Dukt'ootlʼ was unable to do any damage to him. That's what that's talking about. Can someone read this?
Oe tle ye ash awsaka. We yiran khan.
Yeesh. Wait.
That is, or that, oh, I always forget what that clay is.
Then. Kayaaní. There's our disappearing plus I classifier.
Oh boy.
Said to him.
Weeyx yan.
The young.
Down there.
Yep. So if someone is already standing and you're trying to tell them to stand somewhere or some certain way facing a direction, you use yanhan because they are all, it means remain standing. Yanhan on its own would mean remain standing. But then you can use it in a command form to be like, face the door. Kahat nayat, kahat niyate yanhan. Kawaki niyate yanhan. Face the door, face the window. Ach, achyate yanhan, face me. And so you say gitahan if they are sitting, because that's the command to stand up. If they're already standing, yanhan. There's a similar one, qanu, is sit down. But you say nanu, if you're saying like, ke nanu, sit up straight. Good one for the melting teenagers, the unwushai teenagers who just melt down in their chairs, right? So,
Nanu,
ke nanu.
up straight.
And you could say niyade nanu, scoot over. You could say niyakaya kachit kat nanu, go over to that chair, because they are sitting and then they'll be sitting again. Pretty fun stuff. So stand there. Okay, let's see. I think I need to move this down. I need someone to read this.
Awkshitán, yagyee, awkshitán, usk, Dukt'ootlʼ, Dukt'ootlʼ.
Okay. There's another awkshitán.
And then
Yagyee. Na katuyeti. Eitlhine Kayaaní.
is that popweed?
Do it a. Yeah. What else is that thing called? It's like a little, it's a kelp that's a little V-shaped bulb. Yellow seaweed?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Bladder rack?
Yes.
Rockweed.
Rockweed? It's one of these ones that has like 10 names. Or you could just say Kayaaní, and then no one will be confused. Probably means below the head of the bay, maybe? Below the shoreline? That's probably more likely. Why do we have da, usk? What is going on here? What's the part? It's not because.
It is the doer.
Very close. Because that CH can mark the doer. It can also mark one other thing. The instrument. What it's done with. So we've got with it. Is basically what this is doing. Da or da. It. Ich watching ʼatudli.átk and da, ida, duda, ashta.
The body one.
His body. Yes, he is washing. You do get an L classifier, which is washing meat or feet, or apparently joints of the body. So you could say itjin ne'uz, or you could say jinni de'uz. But I think you'd say ichus nash'uz, wash your feet. It's also toilets. I don't know. I don't know how it all works.
Is it unclean things?
It could be. Huh. But everything is, if you're washing something, it's not clean, right? But I guess feet and meat, there's not, it's not a real direct thread there. I guess you could have meaty feet. I don't know. Okay. Yagyee. Oops, I just gave it away. What's ʼatk? Well, what is this made of? It's made out of ʼatk, peg vowel, ʼatk. What's ʼatk?
Apple.
Between.
Between. And what's ʼatk?
Bones.
What's between the bones?
Marrow.
Yeah.
Joints.
One more, maybe two more. Let's see. Somebody read it. This one's gonna be fun. Maybe this is our end for tonight.
Skadushu do tune nooch kads ake. How would you say that? Do tune.
Two.
All right. Do tune.
Dukt'ootlʼ. Oh, it's fair. Everything's short. Sorry. Dukt'ootlʼ.
Musket shoes, 8, huh?
8. What is Dukt'ootlʼ? This is a southern dialect. That's how they'd say it in cake. I don't think. You guys two or tiu? Tiu. Okay. This is how you'd say it in Dísi. Except you probably end up with a niche. You can nooch and nooch and niche and niche. Do your thing. But what would Dukt'ootlʼ be?
Is that learn? Always learn? Or,
Well, you have two. There's a lot of things that come with two.
oh yeah, I don't know the do.
So in two, you can have, I think this is read, count, study. Well, I guess it's read, count, teach. Those are the 3 things. And you can build a bunch of things, but you got to do different things with the preverb and the classifier. This one is object, subject, 0, or tiu. What do you get with this one?
Man, no. What do you mean?
Well, if this is the theme, what does this theme talk about doing? What is this verb?
Count.
For S to count, O.
Man's bones.
S to read, O.
Read the bones?
People always count them. People's bones. What he is saying here, there are 8 major joints on the body in X'éig Tundutani. Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees. That's where your major joints are. You wash them with Kayaaní and you might get really strong. Okay. Finish cheese, Johan. Anything before we go?
Wait, you said you wash them with Kayaaní and you might get really strong. What's
Yeah.
Kayaaní?
It's Kayaaní. Kayaaní is that popweed or bladderwrack or yellow sea. It's a little kelp that washes up on the beach. It
Lives
looks
on,
like a little V. Yeah, it's always on the beach. Yeah.
it grows on the rocks at just below high tide.
And you could pop it and there's a little gel inside of it. That gel is
And rub it on your joints?
yep.
You can put it on small cuts and bug bites.
Sunburn.
Is that for only, you can do that at a certain time of the year? And is this bubble kelp that's everywhere?
Well, I would say yes, go soak in the water, come out, rub that. And it's the ointment that's on the inside, the naze. ʼatudli.átk,
And do you just leave it on or do you have to wash it off later?
You gotta ask that little man in the brown bear. Okay. I think you leave it on. I think it soaks in. But you can come back and you'd be like, poke your screen, it's just gonna smash. So be careful. Be careful next week on the plate. Don't hurt
Okay.
him. Good cheese.
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 Gynnall cheese.
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 Echa.